Hello and welcome to another episode of the Six and Out podcast powered by Sports News Blitz. I'm Bilal, joined by Dejan, and today we'll have another episode recapping the Ashes. Well, Dejan, we've reached the midpoint part of the series. A lot of England fans would have been expecting Australia to be 2-0 up. Probably not been hoping for this scenario, but it's happened. Australia go 2-0 up, winning the second test in Brisbane, the pink ball test in Brisbane. In lots of ways, it was very similar to the first test. Obviously, Australia chasing down an easy target in the fourth innings. But one positive for England that England fans can count on is Joe Root finally getting his century in Australia, scoring 138 off 206. I mean, it's a big moment for Root, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about time. It's about time. It's been a while. It's like saying the monkey's off his back. It's really good for him though. Really good for him to finally get that moment. He just in the first test he looked a little bit shaky. He also got two very good balls from Stark, but he just looked in complete control in that first innings. And yeah, really the only real contribution just in that innings in general for England.
Yeah, I mean, England, they did get off to a hot start. I think that partnership with Root and Crawley, who ended up scoring 70
Yeah.
odd as well. I mean, but again, apart from that, I mean, the England batters failed to sort of like live up to that start that they got. I mean, they did end up getting 334 on the ball in the first innings, which would say is decent for a day-night test. But I mean, Australia come out in the second day. I mean, you talk about grasping the opportunity and then the amount of missed catches they had. I mean, the opportunities. I mean, you've got to seize your opportunities in Australia, and the fact they let Australia bat and get to 511. I mean, they'd be ruining that, wouldn't they?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, it's not. It's never going to be easy. Like whenever you're in good batting conditions and stuff. I know, obviously, with the pink ball and stuff, it's obviously a lot more difficult. But if you create opportunities, you have to take advantage of them. You have to take your catches, and some of the catches that they dropped were just horrendous. The Duckett one off Carey, that was you wouldn't even expect that at a lower league, like a lower level. But for that to happen in international cricket, it's just yeah, awful, awful
Yeah,
work
I
from
mean,
England.
yeah, I mean, Kerry ended up getting 63 after being dropped on the first ball. I mean, in fact, everyone in Australia, no one even got to 100. In fact, the highest run score was Mitchell Stark with 77. I mean, what more
Shock,
can he do? I
shock.
mean, he's already got 18 wickets in the series after two
Yeah,
games. I mean, he's a brute with the ball, and especially with the pink ball. I mean, I realised with the pink ball there wasn't much swing, but I know it's a lot of bounce.
yeah,
And start falling away to the right-handers. That's how he got a lot of the wickets, the sort of thick edges. And then the difference was Australia took the catches and England didn't.
yeah. It's true. I mean, some of the catches Australia took in England's second innings, the Steve Smith one dive into his left it was unbelievable, and then the Carey one off Ben Stokes. Those are two big wickets. Those Jackson Stokes at that point who were getting a partnership together. So fielding is the key thing, the key aspect in cricket. If you have a poor day in the field, it reflects you as a team, and that was the main thing with England.
Yeah, I mean, top of my head, that Labuschagne diving catch, I think it was in
Yeah,
the second innings as well. Oh my goodness! And then
yeah,
it's like they're just showing England how it's done, and it's these sort of subtle moments in the series that I guess has been the difference because Australia, I wouldn't say they have been at their best. It's more so England failing to sort of neutralise Australia. Um, so, I mean, what is it with England? I mean, I know they made a few changes coming into the second test, but I mean, apart from Bryden Cast, I don't see. Jofra Archer didn't look the same as he did in the first test. Ben Stokes with the ball in particular. I mean, where has it gone wrong for England in this past test?
again, I think it's a lot of things. As I think the batting, as I said, is the main problem. It's been the main problem in this series. I know, obviously, when you're coming up against a bowler who is right now at the peak of his powers in Mitch Stark, it's never going to be easy. But we said after the first test that England needed to, smarten up with the bat and step up. A lot of these players need to step up, and Root obviously did that with the 100. Crawley obviously got some runs, but the likes of Ollie Pope and Ben Duckett and your Harry Brooks. These players are very key players, and they've been very important players in terms of England in the last couple of years, winning as many series as they have and competing as much as they have. And so for them to struggle as much as they have in these first two test matches, you're always, especially the fact that those players are top order players. If they keep consistently getting out early, it's not, it just sets the foundation for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I mean, people will say, I mean, it's their first series, the likes of Pope, Brook, and whatnot as well. So their first series down under in Australia. I mean, how much, obviously, in terms of the coaching, then how much blame does Brendan McCullum or some of the selectors take?
Yeah, I think so. I think they do take a bit of the blame. I think when I go back to when they played the President's game, the warm-up game like a week ago, none of those England players were in that, in that team. And I said after the first test, to lose 2 days in 2 days against Australia in the first test, that can massively dent your confidence. So I think a lot of those players could have benefited from playing that game, probably winning that game, and then getting a bit more confidence from that to then go into this second test with just more belief. But yeah, the fact that they had a week off as well, probably reflecting on a lot of things. And it's not easy when you go and consistently playing test matches, and then you get battered in 2 days pretty much, and then you just have a week off to just reflect on that, and then you go into another test match without any kind of like preparation. It's never easy, especially against pink ball.
Yeah, and especially the fact that they came from a white ball series in New Zealand straight to red ball cricket, and then they've got this Prime Minister 11 in the middle. The fact Australian players, they always play county cricket before they have an away Ashes tour in England. So it's like England, it's like they're not helping themselves with having this. They're at a disadvantage almost at this point, and with being 2-0 down already, it's like, do they have enough to turn things around? I mean, they're going to have to just go rogue. And just moving on in terms of selection, then, I mean, we heard the news that Mark Wood is out of the Ashes, picking up another injury. I know he got injured in the Champions Trophy in February as well. So just on Mark Wood, I know he did play in that first test, but could this be the end of Mark Wood in terms of his career? I know he's getting up there in terms of age. So what does the future look like for Wood?
Yeah, the problem with him is just the amount of injuries he gets. I think when he's fit and firing, he's one of the best bowlers in the world. He's one of the best bowlers to watch in the world, considering his pace, his quality. You look at the Ashes series a couple of years ago. That kind of turnaround that England had to draw that series came from him playing, and him really testing the Australian batsman with his pace and his quality. So he's just been so unlucky with injuries, just in his career. He's just been completely riddled with them. It's not good to see, and whether it's going to be the end, I don't know. I think he's one of those. The thing is, he's one of those characters where it's like, no matter what, I'm going to keep playing. But at some point, the decision gets taken out of your hands. That's the issue with injuries.
Yeah, I don't want to look too far ahead, but let's say England lose 5-0, 4-0. We saw last time they came down under 21-22 that there was a massive overhaul with the squad. And that sort of introduced the sort of Bazball era in the summer of 2022. I mean, could we see the likes of that happening again? Could the selector sort of pull the plug and be like, right, these guys are not good enough? Or is it just it's just hard playing in Australia and they'll continue to back the guys?
Yeah, I think all that talk, in my personal opinion, is just a bit reactionary. Because you got to remember, these are the same players that have been very, very good for the last couple of years under this kind of regime. As I said, the likes of Brook, Pope, Crawley, Duckett, they have been standout players and they have scored a lot of runs for Brendan McCullum. So it does seem a bit reactionary, but as I said, they're going to have to be better with the bat. It's just that simple.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's still not over yet. 3 tests to go. But there will be an element of disappointment given the fact that everyone's saying this is England's best side since 2010-11. The fact that Australia are not at their full strength in terms of the squad. They've got Asian squad as well. So, I know, like I said, I know it's only 2 series down and with 3 to go, but you can't help but think, given the opportunities England have missed in those 2 tests, that they'll be looking back thinking this could easily be 1-1 or potentially even 2-0 England at this point. So how disappointed do you think they'll be? And And what sort of is it a mentality fix that's needed to get over the line in that third test?
Maybe. The problem is it's so difficult to tie down to one thing when like you lose the first two test matches the way they've lost it. You know, from good positions to then go and like lose the game. Not only lose the game, but like lose it comprehensively in the end. It's a lot of things come together at a wrong time, and I think that is what has happened because, you know, fielding wise, as I said, in the second test match, the way they let themselves down in the field, the way some of the batsmen have let themselves down, I think the bowling's been, at times has looked good, at times has competed, but sometimes Australia have just kind of blown them out of the water. I think for the first innings, for the lower order to score the amount of runs they did it for Australia, you know, start getting 70 odd. I think Brendan Doggett came in at 11 and scored like 13, 15 runs or something like that. So that could just affect you as a team. It could be a massive detriment to the team if you're not taking advantage of your opportunities. So maybe it is a mental thing.
Yeah, and speaking of taking advantage of their opportunities, I mean, Michael Neser, who came in for the second set, he picked up a fifer in that second innings. Brendan Doggett, who's played his first two sets, he's improved. I thought he looked better in that second test. And then Jake Weatherall coming in and scoring that half century. I mean, we talk about an inexperienced Australia side, and they're stepping up to the plate. And that's what England, with their so-called experienced side, that's what they're not doing. So, as you mentioned, it's hard to pinpoint to one thing, but you feel like with this Bazball team, it has to click on all fronts. Like the openers having to get off to a good start, then the middle order backing it up with the bowlers, and obviously that's common sense. But I feel like it's hard to see England, their side, even doing that at this moment in time, because you feel like there's just a mistake around the corner, or something's going to mess up, or there's going to be a collapse, or the bowling's going to get smashed around. So, in terms of selection, then, do England have to go bold with the selection? Is it time for someone maybe like Matthew Potts to come in? Do they shake up the batting order? Because I know they've had inconsistencies in different innings. So, what's your take on England's lineup for the next test?
I think they're going to have to make a change with the bowling. Maybe just take someone like a Brighton Cast out, or as I said, an Archer, because again, Archer, he's still managing his fitness. So yeah, someone like a Potts or a Tong. I still think Josh Tong is one of those players where if he gets given an opportunity to just kind of let loose a bit in Australia, he can cause some serious problems. But with the bat, it's tough because that top seven's been so good for so long, but you feel like something needs to change. The only one I can think of right now who can make a case probably with the bat to go in is probably Bethel. But Bethel's still a young player, so you know it's not easy to just shoehorn him in and say, all right, now you go and like help save us, pretty much. So I still feel like England need to stick with the top seven just for the rest of the series. I know obviously that's a lot easier said than done because some players might not be in form and stuff, but these players are still far too good to be playing the way they are. They're playing, you know, so you've got to keep giving them opportunities to do that, because hopefully for England sooner or later they'll come good. But you know, it's gonna have to be quick.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you said they should stick with the top seven, but we've seen in the past, in a recent away Ashes tour, that they have been reactionary to call up players, even players who are not even in the squad. I remember Sam Billings, I think it was 2018. He called him up for an away Ashes tour. I mean, I know Michael Vaughan was saying on his podcast that potentially Johnny Bairstow could make his return. He's not played since 2023. I mean, he's pushing 36. So you do think do you think Baz McCullum and the coach that they'll fall for that reactionary sort of, okay, we need to just shake things up? Or do you reckon, right, let's just stick with it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Let's just see how the third test goes.
Yeah, I don't think they will. Like, you know, be completely reactionary. I think one of the things about the last couple of Ashes series that England have had, the problem with it is, in those Ashes series, they've been so far completely out of the game from the beginning. So they were like, right, we have to make changes in this area, this area, this area. Whereas, you know, it's weird to say considering the fact that 2 test matches have lasted 6 days altogether, but England have competed at times. with with the ball and with the bat. So they don't have to. They shouldn't be reactionary straight away. As I said, the stuff about Vaughan bringing Bairstow in, that's just stupidity. Like nothing against Johnny Bairstow. He's a very good player, but as I said, the guy's not played for 2 years now. He's not. He's not someone that I think is fit enough for Test cricket anymore. As in, like, the way he plays, not like athletic, obviously, but I just don't think he's a fit for Test cricket anymore. I don't think he's a fit for this England team. And besides, who you going to drop for Bairstow?
Yeah,
you're gonna bring James Smith, take James Smith out?
No. I mean, there is the option of, obviously, I think the weakest out of the top 7, I think, is still Pope. Obviously, getting that duck in the first innings would help his case. Just when you think you wanted him to obviously accelerate and improve on what he did in the first test in Perth. But the way Pope plays as well, away from his body a lot of edges to four. You can't survive like that in Australia. Maybe in England because the bounce isn't as much. But in Australia, any edge flies. And the Australian slip fielders are going to take their catches. And I think, like you said, I think the lineup should stay the same. But I think a lot needs to work technically. And I think we could be having this conversation after the third test if the England batters fail again.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I think the only person that you could see maybe making a change, like the only person you see maybe coming out of that team is Pope for a Bethel. Get maybe another left-hander in there. It might just help a bit more. But yeah, again, I think it just comes down to intelligence and stuff. I know that's the way he plays, and I know he's done well in the last couple of years playing that way. But surely, if you keep consistently getting out that way, or you keep consistently testing the slip cord, and by doing that, surely at some point you're going to have to say, like, okay, maybe I should just put that away for now and just like focus on staying in and trying to score runs. They shouldn't just be, okay, we have to just stick to this one way and it's the only way. At some point you're going to come up in tough situations. So, adapt a bit, stay in there.
Yeah.
Build your confidence up. Because right now what they're doing just isn't working.
Yeah, a lot to look forward on the England front, and see a lot of eyes will be on them to see how they've improved in terms of game management, especially. But just moving on the Australian front, then the big news for them is obviously their regular captain Pat Cummins is back. I mean, it could be game over for England already. The thing is, I do want to give credit to Steve Smith the way he's captained things. Obviously, not having personnel available, but still obviously taking the fight to England, and the fact he took a leap out of Shiv Narayan Chanderpaul and the black strips under his eyes, and the way he took down Archer, I mean, that was incredible.
I mean, it probably is a bit easy for Steve Smith when he's got a bowler like Stark. He can just like every time like backs against the wall, all right, just give him the ball, go on, take another 5 wickets, and then help us win the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And with them, I think it could be a potential straight swap in terms of Cummins, maybe for a Michael Neser or a Brendan Doggett. It could be one of the two.
I think the fact that the fact that Neser took 5, I think you have to reward him for that. So I think they should probably stick with Neser. Doggett's been all right in the first 2 Test matches. I think he's done well, but as I said, sometimes players take their opportunities, and the fact that Neser took 5. Yeah.
I think with Australia, batting as well. I know we saw Stark hit 70 odd with the bat. I mean, we've seen how Cummins is good with the bat as well. So that was probably one slight weakness they had until they scored 500 in terms of the depth compared to England. In terms of the middle lower order. But I think they've got that covered now with potentially Cummins at 8 and Stark at 9. Another question for Australia is obviously Nathan Lyon ended up getting dropped. No spinner. Didn't have any regular spinner. Do you see him coming straight back into the side for the Adelaide Test? And who for?
The Adelaide Test isn't pink ball, is it?
No, it's red ball. Yeah.
No, yeah. So maybe they might bring Lyon in just for a red ball. But again, who do you drop? Yeah, maybe if you're going to take someone out, you probably take Scott Boland out.
Yeah.
Probably.
One thing as well with this Adelaide Test, I think it's day 3, which is the Thursday. It's 36 degrees in Australia. Yeah. So that could impact Lyon in terms of the dryness of the pitch.
Yeah.
The second half of the test, so he could be a key asset. And I did hear it's one of like the hottest summers that Adelaide has had, so that could be a factor in terms of toss as well. Because we know we've seen England like to bat first, so will they continue doing that? Because you feel like you'd want to bowl on the last day, or do you? So it's not worked for England batting first. So what would you do if Ben Stokes won the toss?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you just got to go back to what your strength is, especially when you win the toss and everything, because for them a couple of years, England, at the start of baseball especially, they bowled first a lot, they chased down high scores. Sometimes you've got to go back to what your strength is, and I think for a lot of these players as well, setting a like having a target to chase, I think they seem like a batting group which benefit more from chasing down a target as opposed to setting one. I feel like a lot of these players, I feel like you kind of have a bit more responsibility when you chase down a target. So like if you hit a 4 or something, or you hit a boundary, is that okay? Now I can maybe just calm it down a bit and then go for it a bit later when the bad balls come. Whereas when you're setting a target, I feel like this team's like, right, we've got to try and get as many runs as possible, as quickly as possible, which it just doesn't really work, especially when you're coming up against that bowling attack.
Yeah, and with potentially drying up later in the series, I know Will Jacks was sort of that frontline spinner for England, and he's sort of that batting option in the middle order. Would you sort of keep him and then add a potential specialist spinner like someone like Shoaib Bashir, or would you just keep Jacks and then just go pace heavy, potentially replacing Archer and Cars for the likes of Tong and Potts?
Yeah, I mean, after the catch he took against Steve Smith in the first innings, I think I'd keep him in the squad for the rest. But it's a tough one because, with Mark Wood out, that's one less bowler, one less pace bowler, so maybe Bashir might get an opportunity there. But I don't know, it's just the problem is it's so hard to tell because spin has been such a non-factor in this first two test matches.
Yeah.
It's been all about pace bowling from both sides.
Yeah.
So it's a tough one to see whether they'll play a Shoaib Bashir and or they'll just stick with Jacks as the main spinner. But I still think that even if they play with main spinner and stuff, he won't bowl that much in Adelaide. Maybe apart from day 3 if England bowl. But they probably won't have still as much impact. I just don't think spinner's going to have as much impact in this series.
Yeah, true. I think the main sort of like spin-friendly ground out of the 5 is probably Sydney, and that's the final test.
Yeah, exactly.
So
the series could be done by then.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so in terms of selection for both teams, I mean, it's like no side's really settled yet. Maybe more England, but England players haven't stepped up. But for Australia, I mean, they're going stride for stride. I mean, the potential you've got Cummins back. I don't want to sort of like ask me predictions straight away, but I mean, the recipe is sort of set up for them to go 3-0 and retain the Ashes.
Yeah, which makes my prediction, which I made last time about England winning the series, a bit impossible. But I just want an Ashes series where it's competitive. That's all I want. But it's just not been at all.
No, I mean it's hard playing Australia and Australia. I mean, many teams have found that out.
Exactly. But England have had like good aspects of like good parts of games, but on the main they just haven't been anywhere near good enough, which is a problem because before the series we were saying England's batting is better. England's batting right now is more like they're better right now than Australia's batters. And bowling-wise, I know Australia is obviously better, but without Stark and Hazelwood and Cummins and stuff, we thought that England's bowlers could definitely improve on that and be better. But they just haven't competed, which I think is weird because everyone was saying before the series Australia is going to be the one to struggle because, the batting's not, as I said, the batting's not like solid. Bowling-wise, they're missing a few people, but they've just been so far ahead of England in every aspect of the game.
Yeah, I mean, they've run the changes. I know, obviously, Weatherall's had his debut. Josh Inglis came into the middle order with Travis Head going up top. Travis Head, in his home ground in Adelaide, I think he's got 140 against India in Adelaide last time out. And then Siraj bowled him and gave him that send-off. I could just see Travis Head taking the game away for England again.
Yeah. I never understood why bowlers do that. Like they give him like a send-off after they've like bludgeon the bowling all over the place.
I think it's just to like relieve any frustrations. Like, right, finally, I've got you.
Probably just like emotion or something. But not going to... If Travis Head gets going again, England are going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
But I just still think that England can do something, and they could be. Well, obviously they can always improve. They can definitely improve on what we've seen, but I still get the feeling that England. I just feel like they need one good day, where they not dominate, but they have a better day than Australia.
Yeah.
You know, like in terms of scoring more runs, say maybe declaring a summon, getting Australia in, taking a couple of wickets to end the day, and then they'll probably say, okay, you know, if they do that, then most likely we win the game. And then, you know, it's a different story for the final two Test matches. But if England again have another first or second day where they just let Australia get away again, say Travis Head scores more runs or Steve Smith comes back, probably has more arguments with Archer and then goes and scores a load more runs, it's just going to again be so far away from England.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all it takes is one, because they've not won an Ashes.
Exactly.
Just a test in Australia since 2010-11. So all it takes is one, and from there you never know. You go to Boxing Day at the MCG, there'll be pressure on Australia. All the media, they'll focus on, Australia finally lost to England. So all it takes is one. And as you mentioned, game management, just taking it day by day. You want to outwit Australia. Sometimes you'll have to hang in there. Sometimes you'll have to score aggressively. The approach is different. I've noticed in the first two tests compared to England to Australia. You can't just go gung ho. You can't just. There's a lot more for the bowlers in Australia, which I don't think England have sort of realised. Hence why we've seen sort of the middle order collapses.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I feel like they've given Travis Head the freedom to just bat the way he has, because you have Weatherald there who, you know, can take it. You know, you have Marnus, Weatherald, Smith, and other players who kind of like, you know, they don't go for it straight away. They just kind of like build their innings up more, which is kind of given Travis Head the freedom to just bat the way he normally does, open the batting. And yeah, the opening combination, it reminded me a lot of, for Australia, it reminded me a lot of, this is a big comparison, but kind of like the way they play, Hayden and Langer, the way they used to play.
Wow.
No, I'm not like saying they're as good, they're nowhere near, but, you know, Travis Head's a very aggressive player. He likes to get on the front, or he likes to, you know, really get on top of the bowling. Whereas Weatherald's a lot more like compact.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to Langer. He plays very well, kind of backward a point, like square the wicket, which is what Langer did a lot. So it seems like a very good combination. It seems like a very good combination.
Yeah.
I give him that.
Yeah, one that no one expected as well. And
yeah, no.
There's just something about lefties as well, like lefty openers. I mean, you've had you've had quite a few in the past. I think like Alistair Cook, Jasuria in tests as well, Sangakkara. I mean, Warner. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, and I think they'll just keep going stride for stride, and it's up to England to sort of break that and sort of strangle back any momentum they can to give them the advantage for that Adelaide test. So just finally then, I want to have your prediction. How do you see it playing out? Is it England's time, or do you just see Australia steamrolling them, as we've seen?
You know what it is I've noticed? Every time I make a prediction, it goes like horribly wrong on this. So
you got to back Australia, so England win, right?
Well, I'm not an England fan, so I can't. But it's going to be the worst thing in the world to say. But I still feel like if England just have one day, that's all I ask, one day, where they are better than Australia and they get on top of it, get on top of the game, then they could win. We could win the game. They can win the game. I really do believe that.
Yeah. Well, I thought England were on top after day one of the first test, and we saw how that played out. So.
Exactly, but like, you know, but imagine that. But the problem with England is going to be very simple. You're letting Stark do that to you for the first two test matches. You let Nisa come in and take 5. You know, Doggett's come in and taken quite a few wickets. Boland's done the same. And then you're going to have Pat Cummins come back for the next test.
There's no respite.
No, there's none whatsoever. But there never is a test cricket. That's the beauty of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
But I know I keep going back to it, but I just feel like just one day. Just one day. That's all they need. One day. And then I feel like they can win. Can win.
As you mentioned earlier, I actually do want to see England chase. I want to see the Australian batters in, England go at them with the ball, because I feel like the bowling has been a positive. Like, there's been parts of it that are positive. I know the drop catches in the last test obviously hurt them, but
Yeah, but that's not the bowler's fault.
yeah,
Not the bowler's fault.
exactly. But I feel like they play better knowing how many runs they need to take a lead,
Yeah.
and then obviously in the final innings knowing how much to chase. So we can still see England perform. And this Australian side, I'll keep mentioning it. They're not as this. They're there to be get at.
That's what I'm saying.
We've seen South Africa do it. So why can't
Yeah.
England?
I don't think I think there are teams, especially in Test cricket, that are better suited for chasing down a score as opposed to setting a target.
Yeah.
Some teams suit setting a target, some teams suit chasing down a score. I
Yeah.
think Australia. The good thing about Australia is they are quite good at both. But I think
Yeah.
I look at India right now. India right now is a team that is very good at setting a score. Feel like South Africa are kind of the same. Whereas I feel like England, just from what I've seen from the last couple of years, they are so much better when it comes to chasing down a total, no matter how big that total is. They're very good at chasing it down. So I really don't understand why Ben Stokes has made the decision in the first two games.
Yeah,
Well,
first two,
he won the toss. He won the toss in the first one. I don't know if he won it in the second one.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, same. It was
He
same
did, yeah.
again. They chose to bat
But I
two
don't.
times. Yeah.
I just don't understand why you would do that, considering the fact that
Yeah.
in the last couple of years, it's chasing down a target has been your best best tactic, pretty much, to go for it.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't know if it's sort of mind games, and the fact with obviously the hot weather, it could be batting first might be the best, but will Stokes want to do that for the third time? That's another question. Knowing the fact that they're better at chasing, and surely someone's pointing that out to them. That obviously you saw the chase in Edgbaston against India, all the chases against Australia in the last Ashes in England. So I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if it's sort of like reverse psychology or what. I mean, it's clearly not worked.
Yeah, no.
But
You can say that.
they need something different. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint like what has exactly gone wrong because, as I said, there have been times where England have like been decent in this series, but there's been so few and far between. You know, But that's the thing about cricket as well. When one thing goes wrong, everything can go wrong.
Yeah.
Like in the first test, to lose it inside 2 days, then you go to the next test and you drop as many catches as you do, and you have batting collapses, and then bowling wise, you're not giving your bowlers really any kind of like time to recover, or you're not really giving them like any kind of target that they can defend, which is a problem.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. I mean, are we going to see Bazball 2.0? So yeah, what's your prediction then? Is it 2-1 or 3-0?
It's hard. It's so easy to say 3-0. It's so easy to say 3-0.
Yeah.
But I still believe that they one day. I know I'm going to keep going back to it, and I'll go back to it for the rest of. We'll keep doing these episodes in the future, and for the next Ashes, for the rest of the Ashes, that we keep doing these episodes.
Yeah.
I will keep saying it. I mean, well, if they lose this game, then it's done. Then it probably won't be.
Yeah.
It won't be any good for me to say that. But
They have to be at the best.
they have exactly.
They have to.
So this is where you're going to test your character a lot and see, because a lot of these players are going to be tested and character and what their characters are like. So, but it's so easy to say Australia. I really want to say Australia 3-0, but
Yeah.
no, I'm sticking to my prediction. England will win.
He's back.
Sticking to my prediction.
He's back the Poms. To be honest, yeah, I've seen this script before. I mean, I've seen when Australia go 2-up, they just carry on with the momentum.
Are you seeing a 5-0? Are you seeing a 5?
Honestly, potentially. But honestly, I think just the way the first two tests have gone, I just think it could be a head dropper. Like I said, this is the decisive one, like to get things back in their way. And the fact it's at Adelaide as well, Australia have a really good record there.
True. True.
I'm just saying, Travis had 100 and a Stark 5 is probably guaranteed. So I don't know if there's much room for England to come back from that.
Well, Stark 5 is guaranteed. Like just that man is the everlasting problem right now for that England team.
Yeah.
But even batting wise, to go and score 70 on it for a lower order player to score 70 on, it could just destroy you as a team.
Yeah.
And then for him to take as many wickets as he has, it's just has got to be heartbreaking, completely heartbreaking.
Yeah, and like I said, a lot of things will have to go England's way to finally get that hump over the line. So
Yeah,
I think that's it. I think it's going to be a fascinating test, sort of the decisive test in Adelaide in just a couple of days' time. I've been Bilal, joined by Dejan, and this has been another episode of the Six and Out podcast. Be sure to check out all of our socials on Sports News Blitz and check out our Sports News Blitz website. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.